Good afternoon from A Bit Twisted. So I'm still here at the house in my messy little area here working on my side treadle wheel. I've made some good headway. I was able to take some wood carving tools and clean up around the base of the posts, and then put everything together, and then I made a wedge on the back side and wedged these in place, no gluing, and they're pretty stable, so it may need to be worked on a little bit, but for now it's good. And all the parts are here. This is a very lightweight wheel. My Ashford wheel is a lot heavier of a wheel than this one here, so this is just kind of a wispy little wheel. And I had to do some adjustments with this, and the main adjustment is the tension on the flyer. Since this is a bobbin driven, the flyer had a big piece of leather wrapped all the way around, and I cut it and just put a small piece of leather just underneath, and then just one bit of string over the top to tension that. So there's very, very little tension, but enough if I needed to crank it down I could tension it up really good. But as it is, it's just nice and loose, and I've oiled things up and got everything together. Still need to put a little oil in a few places to keep things going, since it's probably been a while since it's really been spinning anything. Put a little bit of oil back down on that leather, get that piece of leather good and oiled up. So I've got some wool. I'm doing wool right now and not the flax, but I have some wool on here, and also the hooks. So this thing came with no hooks, and I was told that there's some sort of hook that you just take out and press into each one of these holes as you go, just a single hook, so you don't have multiple hooks. I'm not sure how that works, and I don't know what type of hook would stay in place but easily just pop out and pop into the next hole. Something with a little cross bend in it that would probably just enough to press in it, it'll just pop in and then open up on the back side, and then you can just pop it out. So that's what I'm thinking. But for now I have some really old hooks, and they're loose in the hole, and I put them in the hole and I bent the bottom side around so they're just freewheeling, and I'll get some close-ups to show that the freewheeling hooks here, and then we'll just kind of zoom in. So we'll put that into the video, and but I just wanted to show you that the wheel does work. You do have to be up higher off the ground in a higher seat than a standard like kitchen chair that might be suitable for a regular spinning wheel, which sits a little bit lower. And so I have a bench out here, and I've raised that elevation just a little bit, which helps. And I also have myself a soft shoe, kind of a sandal shoe, and that helps a lot. This isn't the best barefoot like the other treadles. This one, you should have a light shoe or a sandal, would be ideal. I was even thinking getting some pieces of leather and put leather on the cross board and on the treadle itself, kind of make it soft. Then you kind of go barefoot rather than just on the hardwood. But for now, having my shoe helps a great deal. The wheel is really lightweight, and it doesn't lend to just pressing on this, because when when this is in its down position, the wheel's not going to turn, so you have to turn the wheel so the footman is up and just coming to the direction that you want to go. And then push and then let go so it will follow through. So you'll see that the whole thing is kind of wobbly, but it's on the carpet. I have kind of a wobbly little carpet here. It's much sturdier on the kitchen floor, on a hard floor. It's not so wobbly. But I'm not too worried about that right now. I just want to make sure the functioning of this wheel is working. And so far, so good. So I'm just sitting back and feeding everything in sideways. Takes a little getting used to. I've already noticed I'm using some different muscles in my leg versus my regular treadling. I prefer to do this barefoot, but barefoot was hurting my foot. So I went with the shoe, and the shoe's working just fine. I can feel it good enough through my sandal shoe, and so I have decent enough control of everything. And it takes up just fine. This is very, very much similar to my other Irish tension or bobbin driven wheel, where the flyer has just enough weight of its own to create the pull for a thin thread, and then you'd have to probably put a little bit of tension on it when you do some plying, maybe. So mostly the string is there just to keep it from flying off. It's not really there for tension, and it's sitting on a small thin piece of leather as its bearing surface, and nothing is wrapping around the whole thing. So it being a small piece of leather, it has less friction, and being that I oil it, and it's going to get really oil saturated as I go. But so far, oh, there it goes. So did a little back, so I'll bring this round front and start again. So I had that do a little reverse on me there, and that's pretty standard. That can happen. It's not the bobbin driven wheels are different in their adjustments and use. And I knew I was going to have some difficulty learning how to spin this, but I've actually kind of fallen into a groove pretty good at this point. Just got to get that foot up. So my leg is still up. My knee is up higher than I want it to be. So I want my knee kind of a slightly downward. So I still need to be up a couple more inches for an ideal height where I'm not going to pinch my legs underneath and my foot's not going to be dangling. So my stool that I have is too tall. My kitchen chair is too short. And this bench with a couple pads underneath is close to being just right, but not quite. Not quite there at that Goldilocks moment. But I did do a piece. Do you see that? It just kind of caught me off guard there. I did do a piece of yarn to ply, so I did ply it on the wheel. So plying on the wheel does work. And I just wrapped it on my hand for Andean type ply off of my hand on a small sample. So right now I'm just putting a bunch on my bobbin, and when I change hooks, I only put it on one hook. I do not have it draped across multiple hooks, just one. And the way the flyer's made works just fine that way. I could drag it across a few, but I'm not. So I'll stop it. Then I'll change the hook. I'm going to change it to hook number 4. Don't want it on 3 and 4. Up. Make sure it stays on the hook when it backfires. It is still a learning curve at the moment. This is a very new wheel to me. So I am going to switch over here pretty quick to some linen or some flax fiber, but not in this video. So just a showing of the wheel. We'll show it to everybody, people in British Flax, people in the wool spinning group. Kind of adjust my foot a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna drop that. Get this here and just kind of wrap it around. So we'll set up, and I'm going to come on camera, get a little bit closer look at the flyer while I'm spinning, and get a new piece of wool. Okay, we are back here setting up. Backfire. So you can see just this one little thread right here. That's the tensioner peg. So it's just kind of new muscles. see here. You can see they just spin. Move it into position. Backfire. Trick is to get it started. Once it's started, you can usually keep it going pretty good. But if you're not paying attention, it can backfire on you. Get tired. Change a little position. You got to move your foot enough to where it can give it a chance to get all the way around. Put your foot down too soon, you'll backfire it. Not something that you really want to do. So I can fill the bobbin up pretty quick. This is much faster spinning than spinning with linen. Just because the way I draft out. It's kind of a fast wheel. It only has one speed. You've got the diameter of the wheel and the bobbin, and that's it. And that's the speed. There's no multiple whorls on the bobbin, just the one. This could be made to where there would be maybe two, maybe three, one a bit bigger, and one even smaller. But I would go maybe for bigger, one bigger than this one here, because this one's already kind of fast because it is a big wheel. So if I made my whorl there on my bobbin a little larger, then it would be a bit slower. Wouldn't be such a tight twist. But I think for flax, it's fine. I've already done some flax on this. Okay, so that's getting, whoops, that's getting a bit full. See a little extra bump there. So we're going to go to hooky number 5, swing it around, and just keep going. So there's a little sampling of my wheel, what I've been able to do. showing that the wheel works quite well. Still kind of a pulsing type pull. You know, that's as I put torque on the pedal here. I can feel it in the thread. And it's that pull, boom, boom, that can yank it out of your hand if you're not careful. And that's why your tensioning is crucial. And a lot of tension that you get on these wheels is from the flyer itself. But there is friction on the piece of leather and on the shaft on the other side sitting in its leather cradle. So this cradle has just a little bit of leather in it. The other cradle's got a little bit more, but it's a thinner metal shaft that's riding on that. So on these wheels, you can't pull backwards like you can on a Scotch tension wheel. So not really any less tension that I can give it. It's pretty much what it is. Now, if this drive band had a little bit more slip but good grip, well, maybe there we go. Let's see what that does. So there's less downward force on that far side there. But now my belt is kind of loose. And the loose belt could, if not careful, could pop off. And it will slip because there's a lot of torque on here. When I push down on this, I could slip that belt on that wheel. But I'm trying to minimize that tension on that side. So I've already got this as minimal as I can go, I think. But I don't like, see, that's too loose. I can feel it slip. So the drive band doesn't have a lot of grip. If it had grip without having to have a lot of downward tension on it, that would be better. So the goal is to have less tension on the flyer. Okay, so we're gonna switch hook. A little bit more tension there. Not much I can do about that. That's fine. As for how old this wheel is, I don't know. That's too thin right there. Gonna pull that off. Put a little bit, get little fuzzy bits onto here. Let it pick up those fuzzy bits without pulling it out of my hands. This wheel could be early 70s, 60s. Not sure. There's no date, there's no information on this wheel. Probably a Swedish-made wheel. I was told that these types of wheels were not made for very long, probably because of the being uncomfortable, or a little more so uncomfortable than standard wheels. So it is what it is. Will I get smoother at treadling? Probably. Once I figure out a good height and a good good angle of attack on the pedal, yeah, probably would be better, and then you'll have better control. But as it is, not too bad. Oh, I broke it. I'm going to leave it there, and we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching.